I start, of course, every day there are new faces in the audience. So before I start, I'd like to thank sincerely the Bengal Institute and its role in disseminating some knowledge and, of course, building a whole culture of constructive criticism in order to improve the built environment. And I think I'm so delighted that, of course, my colleague Kazi is actually leading this initiative that I am doing almost the same in Morocco. So after being in the UAE, UK, US, and where we actually met at University of Pennsylvania. So I think this is one of our critical role in the time of crisis of architectural production. It is time to rethink how architecture is conceived, how architecture is practiced, and how architecture would be in the future. So therefore, beyond showing you a couple of slides, I'm trying to transcend with you to a certain kind of station, or let's say stance, in order to understand more the phenomenology of certain projects, if I may use this term, even if it's too overstated. So the first lecture I gave was a lecture about urban transformation. And I liked the title. And I was very also happy that urban transformation was chosen as a subject. And coming from far away, maybe we may use different terms, but I do understand what means urban transformation for a city like Dhaka. Dhaka is under rapid transformation, sometimes in a positive way, sometimes in a negative way. So what this urban transformation is about, and what are the components of urban transformation, not as single individual projects, but as themes. And this is why I said within the realm of urban transformation, we have urban regeneration, urban revitalization, urban conservation, urban renewal, and of course, we've been dealing with these themes in a more holistic way in the last 2 days. But today I thought maybe I would give it a twist. Since I've been here for the last 2 days and I've seen how traffic is making the rule here in Dhaka. And they said, okay, it's like a puzzle. Dhaka is a puzzle. For which piece you want to change to fix another one. And sometimes even you fix one, you make trouble for another piece. So therefore, it is a complex system of a city that is growing beyond its carrying capacity. And while I was, of course, digging my archive of the projects that I reviewed for the Aga Khan Award, and there was on-site reviewer, technical reviewer on the ground, that means all the projects I'm presenting, they are not like cliches, but they are actually surveys on the ground and spending 1 week to 2 weeks and really trying to understand. And then it caught my attention that this project, this typical project, is relevant, pertinent for the context of Dhaka. And they will show you how Tehran is also overwhelmed with traffic, all right? And we have this dynamism of the city that is vibrant, vivid, and on the other hand, that because of machinization, we have another kind of negative side. So let me start. I will show you the question of traffic cannot be solved by just, changing lanes, or that is beyond that. It should be strategic, territorial. It's something like territorial. And of course, it's taking in charge the urban evolution of the city, the urban morphology, the zoning problem, the master planning problems. But sometimes we are thinking too vague and too strategic, while the solutions, they can be very hands-on. And like this lady, amazing, young, talented architect, Iranian lady, Layla, who studied in Canada. She stayed in Canada and she decided to go back to Tehran. And she said, no way, I want to help Tehran. And she started that company for making metallic structures and things, just very simple things with a company, and you have no idea about how much effort they will spend more than 4 or 5 years to push a little company and convince people to construct with light structures. And she came with this brilliant idea of this bridge, and the way she convinced stakeholders, governor, everyone to do that project. So let me start now more strategic. This is, of course, Tehran, Iran, and please focus with me about where this bridge would be. Look, even I'm showing a big map, but I would say the relevance of why I'm showing this. In 1796, Tehran becomes the capital. Of course, here is Tehran in the map, and here is Tehran, of course, Alborz Mountains, and even like here, Himalayas, and why the Middle East, including Bangladesh and Asia, they are the most important zones in terms of the history of civilizations because of these plateaus. Chains of mountains and the desert on the south, and this water will flow through the Sahara and the desert, and we create oases. And life based on these plateaus was a cradle of a lot of civilization, including your beautiful country. So therefore, what we have here, we have very green, of course, you have here the sea, and then green, mountains, and of course, very desertic kind of, landscape. And then, of course, there is a certain plateau, the kind of a river, because these mountains are very high, the snow melts, and Tehran is here. Why I'm showing this? The importance of greenery, the importance of landscape within the urban fabric, and how traffic is consuming that beauty of the landscape. You cannot contemplate landscape when you have this kind of traffic. You cannot even stop, look at the tree. Tree does not exist. So therefore, what we have here southern Alborz Mountains, and the city should expose certain greenery to be what? A city. Because a city that is just dry cannot be that important. And the site of our project is here. All right? So do you see a very shocking metropolization, urbanization, expanding in all corners. Even heights of the mountain is not a problem. We are urbanizing. And of course, the whole city is lacking any public space in Tehran. And this is a problem. And cars are invading every single corner of Tehran. Nevertheless, Tehran has this beautiful kind of pockets of greenery, especially this site where this project will be erected. And this is the highway. See the highway, and these two spots, they are the only two spots vacant. Okay, do you see here how dense? I think more than Dhaka. If you look at the urban fabric and how dense it is. All right, and then of course, 1968 doesn't mean Tehran was ignored by international architects. I will prove to you some pioneers, like in Dhaka. I mean, this morning I visited two projects of really famous architects here. I think in 1968, two architects, but these are locals, they started developing the first master plan, Growan and Farmanian. Okay, this is Persian. And these two, Abdul Aziz, who is actually Iranian, and of course Victor Growan, and they started rethinking, the master plan, how to restructure Tehran. But always, even this collaboration between local architects and international architects, they could not find how to resolve Abbasabad hills. I mean, amidst this jungle of concrete, Abbasabad hills, that was always like a place that we need to be careful with. And no one has took very strong decision to do something there. Yet is all stakeholders are aware that this landscape, beautiful piece of two hills and with green landscape, is the only remaining oasis. Like when you look at the desert and you have only the little small oasis, which is not more about the beauty of water and vegetation, but is more breathing, the source of life. And hence, they started, as you could see here, it's a very kind of modernistic plan. You could even imagine Le Corbusier's drawing, this linearity, periphery road, organizing, verticality, etc. But never these plans ended or they were executed. In 1972, the Queen of Iran organized Iran's first International Architectural Congress in Isfahan and invited very, very talented, known architects. I think you could see here Louis Kahn and other really well-known architects, Louis Kahn and Kenzo Tanji. So Kenzo Tanji and Louis Kahn, thanks to that Congress, the Queen invited them to find a solution for the Abbasabad Hills. So they made a couple of proposals how to bridge the two hills, because what happened, the bottom, the bottom in between the two hills was actually used for highway, and that was a big mistake. And then divided the city in two. You cannot even cross. Like some streets here, they are like a nightmare. You can't even cross. So there are several, so I don't want to dwell on that point, just to tell you how complicated this case study. And of course, there were lots of other proposals. In 1971, the Azadi Tower, and Hussein Amanat, one of the famous landmarks in Iran, that was celebrating the Persian, empire. And then, of course, Islamic Revolution after that. After 1980, Iraq-Iran war lasted 8 years. Why I'm saying these events? They are also very important. How the city stopped evolving because of a lot of turmoil, a lot of stuff. And we should not forget that cities are a breathing metabolism. They breathe with the, if the city is prosperous, means there is stability, there is a lot of things. So hence, I will come to 2003, the final master plan by Sayyid Hadi Mirmiran, which is actually confirmed that Abbasabad Hills as a green cultural and public spaces, which was an amazing decision in 2003. Because this kind of landscape, sacredness of the landscape is a new discourse. It's just like sustainability. In 2008, 2010, 2015, even landscape programs in schools of architecture, they were very not well, positioned. So therefore, look at this. So they declared that Abbasabad Hills, they should be preserved. But now, what has to do, this is Tehran, and you could see the nightmare of traffic, nightmare of circulation. You should go there. Some parts are worse than Dhaka. This beautiful scenery, all right, magic scenery, all right. And when you are in the midst of this dense fabric, you don't enjoy any scenery. You don't see anything. No landscape at all. And this is the price we pay for the dynamism of the city when it gets crazy. So therefore, some of I think you recall what's going on here. Yes? Tricycles, cycles, and especially if there is now red lights and they drive just with their eyes. I was so amazed with my driver. He's with me. I say, I don't know how he's doing it. They have their own language, like birds, but fantastic. No accidents in Dhaka. I think we have more accidents in Morocco when the roads are empty. And here, it's just a flow. How they do it, I have no idea. But it's crazy. And they know why you need a driver here. Because if you go to work driving, you end reaching your meeting by not focusing. because you consumed all your focus with, with all these tricycles and things, which is, trust me, I've never seen such a thing like that in Dhaka. Never. I was awed. Anyway, but Tehran, I think in some sections you could see how it's a nightmare. And please, look at this. What intrigues me, not the cars, but people. People, they are going through, I mean, the cars, they are there. You have a metallic box and you're sitting in it. Even if you get a shock, no problem. And they add these metallic bars from the because if they hit you, that means, the shock will be very efficient, especially if there is a human body. And they think this is why in Morocco they prohibited, those metallic things. They are so bad. The technology of cars are making these bumpers, or whatever we call them, very soft because they can be destroyed easily for not the shock to be strong. And here they please advise your government to make a regulation because there will be a lot of damages because of that. Anyway, this is another story. And you could see here also goods. This guy carrying bags. I see that in Dhaka as well. So how to reverse this equation? The city is hijacked by cars. And everyone wants to have his SUV, right? Single person with an SUV taking the place of 4 tricycles. I prefer the tricycle with this guy. He is resilient. And by the way, he's more healthy than the guy he's carrying. This is something I've noticed. The ones who are carried by these poor guys, they're all like having weights. So, look, now playgrounds for kids, where they play. There's no place. Lots of circulation and traffic. And look, and then what's the solution for the pedestrian? The solution to make the guy comfortable in driving his car, we put that pedestrian at the top of a bridge, which is handmade, very ugly, okay? You could see them. But only one, this morning I took a picture of one hanging flowers in it. But yet, the skeleton, especially this guy, elderly, with a weight, getting all these steps, because for the cars to reign, reign, that means ruling like a king. All right, so now this is the solutions we're giving to people. Yeah, did you see? All handmade, all right? And we're channeling, we're hijacking the public space of the citizens to give it to what? To a vehicular movement that is serving very few. And we never thought about public traffic, improving it. Though, of course, you've seen the conditions of buses. Impossible to ride that bus and go to a meeting. Possible. Yeah, it's possible. Even if you have Wi-Fi now, they get with Wi-Fi. All right? So this is actually the firm. It's called tensile architecture. That means like textile. So she made that firm, Layla. And Layla Arakian with Ali Riza Behzadi, who was just a partner, but she's the master brain. And they started working on very simple, structures. Look at that. Just, and the thing, this kind of company, the idea was, because we are using these concrete boxes everywhere, how can to lighten the structural system, and we can create much events, because actually you are all architects, planners, engineers, artists here. What counts is the human motion, is not the concrete box. Though modernists, they wanted that void, but they missed the point. The modernist objective at the start was to capture the human motion. This is what Corbusier was dreaming about with this golden ratio of the body and stuff. And we ended by the worst boxes ever. So what to do? So therefore, gradually they started getting very important commissions. And this is a commission that Layla, her partner, they got in one of the banks of the Abbasid health. So what is this? was actually not to preserve the nature, the greenery of that landscape, and she used this for public events. It just made a structure. And hence the idea of making the bridge and rendering or giving that landscape to the people, not to the cars. And the result was fantastic, I will show you. This is just some experimentations, and from that 2014, the idea of the Tabiat Bridge started. And look at the nightmare here, very dense stuff. So this is the only, green, two hills, and then green space, but yet hijacked by highways, many highways in Tehran. And of course, her first project was here, okay, was here. So now, this is it. This is this is actually the landscape before. Beautiful. This is the only heart breathing in Tehran where you can find greenery. All right, and most of the bridges, they are bridges for cars, only cars. There is nothing for humans. So competition. So I think the municipality, they opened the competition, and this competition, Leila and her partner started, conceiving not a bridge, but the good news, this bridge is not for cars, it's for people. And hence, the idea of a bridge, there is a shift of paradigm of the notion of the bridge. And I will tell you how tough the discussion was with some jury members of the Aga Khan. But I convinced them. Someone asked me a question, I will tell you the question later on when you see the bridge, and he could not utter with word. What is architecture? Is the bridge architecture? And this is the problem of current architects. He needs to see a box with a facade to be architecture. So therefore, this is just like some sketches, but the idea will grow. Very meticulous analysis. She's amazing. Very meticulous, the cultural, the topographical, like dissecting the site, understanding the milieu and the lieu, and getting to deduce the potential and how we can capture the potential within a very kind of revolutionary way, and using metal. This is another thing that we will discuss. So what it was about was architecture, the link or the oscillation between the realm of architecture and the realm of structure that will lead you to the bridge. So this is also what we're missing now. We're doing a sketch, and we give to a civil engineer to fix for us that sketch. And the pillar will be somewhere, okay. We were missing that. And these are some models. These are just photographs, and models. They are not real. And you may think it's crazy, extraterrestrial, but it is not. I will show you. This is like handcrafts, and how this amazing Iranian workmanship will work on that to achieve that. And it looks like, some of the star architects, but it's not. This is actually stemming out of the womb of Tehran by a very young architect, and doing a lot of studies, doing a lot of engineering, structural studies. Of course, they hired someone from, I think, from Spain, young engineer, but they built a team that they had a plan to save Tehran and to help people. There is a different view between having a commission to get a project and having a cause to resolve for the people. There are two different things. State of mind is different. I'm very delighted to hear that in Bangladesh there are some colleague architects who are taking the cause of the rural people. We've been wasting time for long thinking just urban, while the solution is in the rural. And hence, I will not get to that. So, how it was defined, this bridge? That's what is interesting. The bridge is so many layers. The bridge is multifunctional. The bridge is multi-scale. The bridge is multi-ages. And the bridge is what? Is also multi-places, as I will prove to you here. And you can see now from that first slide, who rules here? Who rules? The pedestrian. Okay? So now you can enjoy the mountain, you can enjoy the whole Tehran from a very strategic point that would be again hijacked by the cars. So this is how the project, I will not actually spend much time, but when you see just this metal, you don't see this kind of the dynamics, of this. You move the bridge with the movements of the topography. So you are on a platform, but I was experiencing that. I've done it again and again because I need to write my technical report. You can get it on the internet. Just put Tabiat Bridge, Hassan Radoine, Aga Khan. Is a PDF. You can download it, and it's very detailed report on the project, just for information. So therefore, a lot of studies about linearity, the curvilinear movements, where it would lead, optical play, which kind of views you will see, which kind of ages they will frequent that space or occupy it, etc. So very meticulous thing. And to get to the construction. So the construction started from 2009, 2014, so 4 or 5 years. And of course, look how the dream is becoming true. And then you will see the outstanding, of course, being very careful with the landscape. You could see even taking the tree and placing it just next by, just to create spots. Very meticulous landscape work was done with much care, and of course, look at this craftsmanship. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the airport of Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. Is a masterpiece. You must see it. These guys, the craftsmen, Ethiopian craftsmen, metalsmith people, they came and they made that monumental airport out of pieces of metallic tubes. And the result, when you look at it, it's just like one of the famous international projects. So here, the snow. Imagine you are a pedestrian, you want to cross from here to here. Please, just imagine how people they will move around this situation. So therefore, implementation. Okay, 20th of October 2014, the official opening of the bridge, and the results, of course, with all the signages and the elderly, the physically challenged, the young people, and it will become a spectacle, a city that didn't have a theater and the players are all the citizens. And imagine something that is crazy when you look at it, and it becomes the landmark, and families, they come, they take photographs with the bridge. So what is architecture? Don't tell me the beautiful facade that is seen only among architects. So this is something seen by people. Why? Because it resonates with the user and the occupier of that space. So just to get a story short, you could see here, on the top of that bridge, look at this, there are platforms. You can get up and get down, there is a landscape. When you're on the top of it, it's exactly if you are in a deck of a boat. You're floating, because it's very high. It's very high. And of course, the structure makes it also very light. And this is how we make, okay, I need to answer how the bridge is perceived by community. So I interviewed people. I don't just trust my photographs. No, I went to interview ladies, young gentlemen, elderly, and my collection of quotations was impressive. How they see this. So look, they come with families, they take some photographs. Look here, just to show you this situation with this lady crossing, this at the motorcycle, obstructing the street, to somewhere with the pedestrian is ruling, is making his own experience. Handicapped, passerelles, they can cross from side to side. View, look at this beautiful deck, and can you see that
mountains and the whole scenery. Kids, they can play, and there is security measures for that, etc. And then human scale and proportions. You can sit down, but still you're secure. Different, of course, this is another story. I think Iran very conservative, but I think this place became like a landmark for a lot of encounters. Look at the design of the chairs. And by the way, this is no interior designer and architect here. No. There is one architect. She's caring about details. And they think the practice of architecture cannot be just macro. It's micro to macro, and that communication between the details and the skeleton, what makes the work of architecture work of wonder and work of true design. All right? So this is kind of social, amazing thing. And look, when they get to the forest there, and by the way, the other side, other hill, because of the highway, was condemned. No one was going there. So now there are picnics, promenades, people bring in their barbecue, they're doing it on the other side, and inside they've set up restaurants. I will show you some restaurants, and this is not just for youngsters. You have old people, young people, etc. And I will end with this. I think there is no wonder that in Tehran such a bridge was conceived, because even in Iran is a tradition of building bridges for centuries, like this bridge.
Remember, where is this bridge?
Yes.
Yes,
Students
students of architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is a bridge in Isfahan, in the Safavid,
right?
17th century, when actually the Sultan decided to build Maidan, Shahabad, and Shahabad was the first Champs-Élysées, even before the Champs-Élysées, France. And of course, they asked his military generals each one to set up a garden for the public. So he set up an army with gardens, donated by generals, and ending by this beautiful bridge. And that bridge is what? Is a whole experience. So when the bridge becomes an architecture, it's not a work of engineering. A work of engineering is most required and needed all times in history, but architecture gives it that flavor, that gives it that sense of being and that sense of place. And of course, these are some sketches about, lots of poems about that bridge, the Safavid bridge in history. And I said, I was like, not. It was too complex task for me to transmit the message. Architecture is not about walls. Architecture is about the user's needs and aspirations. And architecture, the successful one, is when the user is comfortable and moving smoothly without feeling walls. And this is the team that was actually involved in achieving such a beautiful masterpiece. And look, they are all very young, very young. Leila, of course, Aragian, Ali Riza Berhazi, Sahar Yasai, and I don't want to mention all names. Of course, there are very talented engineers and architects, okay, that they brought this project to fruition. So what has been achieved, or Tabiat Bridge has achieved the following objectives. Just to summarize for you, especially I'm doing it for students, but my senior colleagues, of course, they capture the science directly. So in terms of technology and construction, the bridge has crossed the boundary of a simple engineering structure to expose the human factor within a design framework. These are my sentences, all right? In terms of urban and social impact, the bridge provides a large pedestrian zones responding to the lack of human-centered spaces in Tehran for all ages, classes, genders, families, etc. In terms of accessibility, the bridge and its paths are designed to facilitate access to all physically challenged users with continuous ramps and, of course, emergency ports. In terms of environment, the bridge connects two green spaces in a polluted and crowded city, in order to create a connected and continuous natural environment within an industrial design structure. And hence, what is innovative in this project? I think the retention of the passerby in the bridge to stay and experience it. The bridge in our imagination, crossing, transit. But this bridge, no, will hold you. Stay for a while, please. I will make an experience for you. And that also is very revolutionary. The other thing, at the time of sanctions in Iran, the municipality teamed up with young designers to launch a unique landmark in terms of really restrictions and stuff. The applied technology is innovative despite isolation of the whole country and using the local craftsmanship. The bridge sets another standard in making infrastructure projects in the whole country. It became a model. And the bridge creates a sense of floating, okay, it's like a stage. The bridge attracts social cultural things. And I will end here by a little message for my colleagues here, architects and planners and the other disciplines connected to our discipline. I think what I wanted to say from this presentation, visiting Dhaka, I was talking about urban transformation, urban conservation, urban regeneration, and they said we cannot transform the city if the city has not the capability to transform us. If the city ceases to transform us, that means something wrong. And I would make this call, which is urgent. I think it's time to make Dhaka an international laboratory for architectural thinking and practice, and how these challenges could be actually transformed to opportunities and create a bright future for Dhaka and Bangladesh. And thank you so much. Have any questions or any speakers?
Yes, so I'd like to take some questions.
Okay. With questions, I say to my students when they get silent, everything is understood. That's good. Yes, indeed, indeed. All right, good. Yeah, okay.
I think that's an amazing.
Yes, the municipality.
The competition was for this particular bridge or for what was the competition for?
The company?
No, competition.
Composition.
No, the design competition.
Oh, yes.
It was
for the
specifically
bridge.
for the bridge.
Especially for the bridge. Yes.
No, but I think what Nick means to say was the concept there before that it would be a bridge or was.
It was a concept in a master plan. We need to connect. How to connect, no one knows how.
Okay, that's
Very good question. I really appreciate that clarification. I mean, previous architects' master plans, they knew that this place is very important, but they didn't know what to do with it. So, but that green hill on the other side was not explored, and no one is using it because it's condemned by the highway. So how to connect, and of course, Tehrani people, they have this tradition of promenade. They get with their families in the middle of nowhere, they do the barbecue stuff. It's a long story with that, even here, all right? So they wanted to connect. So the subject of the competition was connectedness, but no one knew that the project will lead to such a diverse kind of a bridge. They were thinking just people walking to the other side. Yeah.
Hassan, I was going to was thinking of it not as just a bridge, which it is not. And you mentioned that quite clearly. It has multiple scales and multiple uses. I mean, it's a public space.
Exactly.
It just happens to be linear and
Exactly.
going up and down and all that. So it's a public space.
Exactly.
So I want to think about the nature of public spaces and the loss of the public realm.
Yes.
Not in Tehran, because I've not been there.
Everywhere.
And in Dhaka, definitely we can talk about the loss of the public realm, and we had a wonderful discussion on the
Yes.
third week before you came.
Yes, yes.
Loss would seem like, for some reason it's going away. Not for some reason it's going away. It's being attacked, vandalized, encroached upon, both by private and the state. And we are all participating in that. And therefore the older notion of sharing, the idea of commons, the community, that's going away because and I don't know how to analyze this. It's a extreme sense of privatization engendered by capitalism and what have you, profit making. Yes. That's perhaps one. But in the case of Tehran, I wonder, with the coming of the Iranian Revolution, whether the control of the public realm, unlike before, where there's kind of clear expression, as we have seen in Morocco, I don't know whether that has got something to do with this, with its popularity and embracing it.
Can I answer?
Yes.
I think, this is kind of, like, it's not about what Kazia said. When I was getting to the plane, the first time I'm getting to Tehran, I was scared in the plane because my brain is full with preconceived ideas. When I went there, trust me, Kazia, people there living their lives, period. It's just amazing that people who are getting their public space, they are living their lives. The system is somewhere else. Don't argue with the rest and do whatever you want with your life. No one will talk to you, all right? And this is a whole political story. I don't want to extend it here, but we need to be very confident that the future is the future for the people, period. Wherever you go, okay? And it's actually a global phenomenon that now, look at the bridge. Do you see any system? No, you don't see a system, you see people. In the most restricted country, you have people, male and female, meeting on the bridge. No one talks to them. I was like blown away. I said, oh my goodness, there was maybe, I don't know, like Saudi Arabia. But there is something happening even there. I can tell you, I was like blown away because people, I had the photographer, don't record this. His name Barzin, such an amazing artist. He's an artist photographer, okay? For taking photographs with me for the stuff. And he was like putting a black t-shirt with very American jeans, and he was said this slogan here, guilty for art. And he's working with me. I said, my goodness, especially me. He speaks Persian, I don't speak Persian, I may get in trouble. And they say, Barzin, what you're doing? I said, look, I don't mingle with their stuff, they don't mingle with my stuff. But I am guilty for art. Okay? So just to let you know the kind of mindset. And through Barzin, I understood another layer of the Iranian society. And young generation are bringing their change. No way. And of course, we're not talking about anything bad, but it's a mindset. We cannot change it. And going back now to the discussion you prompted regarding public and private, this is actually a very important subject of research. What is public and what is private? Even the private was public at a certain time. All right? When you go to most Oriental cultures, they had semi-public or semi-private. We come in a group of neighbors, we agree that this plaza belongs to us, and all of us, we care about it. So when we came, imported the municipality system of Europeans, that was the realm of the municipality, and you pay tax, and it's not becoming your space, it's their space. Even if you see something destroyed there, I don't care, I pay my taxes, they should do it. They don't do it for multiple reasons, and hence there is a huge confusion now in between what is public, what is private, one. 3, commercial activities invading the public realm. Traffic is invading the public realm, and we ended up with what? We ended up with now shared spaces. And this is a major danger for the future of cities all over the planet. Because what is a city? I said it before, city is civitas, is a place of culture. I think the senior persons in the room, they remember how the street forged their memory and their experience. All your friends, they were, mingling with them, interacting, and you learned much from the street as from your inside house. Now the kids, we close the apartment, don't get out. And you see now, it's not just the phenomenon of Dhaka. If you go to Casablanca, we have the same problem. The buildings are gated, and it's becoming a phenomenon everywhere. And here, it's not that bad. If you go, for instance, to Nairobi, all right? If you visit Nairobi, I was scared. Because, look, the street means total insecurity, okay? And then, of course, gated neighborhoods, big neighborhoods. And real estaters are making a lot of money out of that. This is why I spoke about packaged quality of life. Not the quality of life of the city, like most of you, they visit some European cities, they're still very vibrant, vivid. If you go to some villages in Switzerland or in small towns, you could feel you are in the realm of the public, right? And something I will add to this discussion about private and public, I think never the public space was just a plaza. This is another problem. I mean, now we think that the public is something empty, vacant. So what to do? What the hell do you do with this vacant place? It needs a soul. It needs a certain spirit. So therefore, there were always activities. There was always a reason to gather, ceremonies, stuff. Even now, in Eid, because mentioned that the only day where you don't have any cars in Dhaka is the Eid day, But it's scary. Eid day, normally people, they should meet together. And they all get to slaughter that poor sheep, and then period. No one is outside. So what is Eid? You see, this kind of actually societal transformations that they need actually to be addressed within strategic planning to rethink what is private and what is public, and to create peaceful, inclusive, sustainable public spaces for the community. And you cannot have a sense of community if you don't have a public space. Well, this is my thing. Last question. I need some. Yeah, please.
You mentioned that there was a resistance from the jurors while you were trying to convince them. Would you like to maybe talk a little bit about that?
You passed through this experience. You know what I mean?
Can you name the jury?
No, I cannot tell the name of the jury. When I was actually, when I go to any jury, because I'm not showing up, but I'm very involved in a lot of juries. The latest jury I was presiding the jury for the headquarters of the new International Union of Communications in Geneva. And we had a lot of stuff, but we don't mention things publicly after the jury. But I will just give a hint that even some of the jury, not all of them, some of the jury members, they need to be more open if they are in a jury. Because if you are in a jury, it's actually a responsibility. Because why we're doing competitions? Why? We're doing competitions not to select the powerful or to select the best. Sometimes one project we can all agree is the best, but one project is controversial, is prompting discussion, creating something new. For me, that's the project that a jury should choose, not the conventional one that all of us, we agreed on it. So this is what I made with the jury. So one of them, he said, Hassan, but the bridge is not architecture. This award is for architecture. I said, sir, it depends on how we define architecture. It was not a clash, of course. I handled things in a very subtle way. But I convinced him, if the survey I've done with people, they are happy with their bridge. They are taking photographs. Okay? And they are making the bridge part of their cultural experience. Why you're looking for a box or of a facade with the deconstructivism, you know, all these kind of discourses, glass box, you know, beautiful, aesthetic, and at the end, just we architects, we understand what the hell this glass is about, you know, austerity, modernism, discourses, so many discourses. He kept quiet. He could not answer me. Of course, other jury members, they really understood the project. And this is the role of a technical reviewer, because we are under now this format for the Aga Khan Award. Kazi, I think the Aga Khan Award, I'm not here, making propaganda, but I think it's very, very serious process. Indeed, very serious process. I was with Arch Marathon, with other international awards, all of them, jury members come, put a couple of slides, let's discuss. All right? But the Aga Khan Award is but for your information, the project should be achieved, and we need to wait for a while and test if the project will succeed or not. I love this. Because most of the international competitions, sometimes they did not even open the project to public or to users, and then is winning the award. Who should win the award? I think, and in addition, as you know very well, the award is not given only to the architect. No, to all people who contributed to make that project successful. So it's an award for what? For an architecture, not for a person to push the ego again. Right? I don't know if I answered.
Not for you, but perhaps for younger friends, to the question, is the bridge and architecture?
Yes, please.
Perhaps the person who asked you that question comes out of a very Vitruvian sort of sensibility.
I like that.
What is architecture? What is a building? But in the ancient Indian traditions, you know the word vastu. Have you come across the word vastu, which is a kind of one term for a structure or a building? Typically, we consider buildings and temples as vastu.
Sure.
But a commentator from the 4th, 5th century, Kautilya, he has a book, very well-known book, and he has a chapter on vastu. And he describes 4 or 5 things are vastu. One is buildings and temples, understood. The other is seats, chairs. The third one is palanquins or carriages. And the other one is bridge. So please think about that. You know, I think we should even explore within our own tradition, which is kind of part of our tradition, that many things are sort of faded away. But you must think of it conceptually and philosophically. Why did those items were described as vastu?
Thank you, Kazi, for reiterating this point. It's very, very important. I think architecture over history never been one building. It was this. I call it myself a sitting in the landscape, a sitting in the territory, and we do know now how all the infrastructure of the city that made architecture happen. If you look at the pre-classical period, and of course, and even the classical, if you go to the ancient civilizations, and they had mastaba, and then you put the mastaba, and then you put the temple. You know, so the sitting in the landscape, and this is why we need to be very careful with what we are talking nowadays in terms of what is architecture, what is not. And thank you for expanding the explanation. Okay, one last question from a young person in the room. Very young. Who is the very young? Okay, no one wants to be the very old. So who has 21? No one?
Hey, it can also be a comment about his last few lectures as well. Because
who attended the 3 lectures? Raise your hand. Okay, so I'll ask you a question. So each one of you give me a sentence that summarizes the 3 lectures. What were the main key message? I'm learning now. Key message about urban transformation and all what you've seen.
Muntaki, mic ka daw.
Good. See?
one question. I'm very much moved by the way you explain your own projects and the other projects,
Yes.
how passionately you state your ideas about architecture and demystifying a few other concepts. This is very much such an experience for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, sir. It was outstanding these 3 days. I feel really fortunate to be present at your lecture, and we could think out of the box through your experience that you shared. So I feel really fortunate to be listening and learning in different perspective through your experience and the knowledge you shared.
I did not ask you to praise me. I asked you to challenge me. I wanted you to challenge me.
The challenge I would like to know from you, the Dhaka city. What is the future you see of the city? I mean, what's your vision to?
Wow, this is a tough question. This is why I really like the Bengal Institute work and taking, because I'm doing the same thing. We're not like building a school. It's not like a school competing with other schools. It's more a laboratory, an open laboratory for reflection, discussion, debate of what would happen and what would not happen. So therefore, by the way, from car to lecture, because you made me really work hard, I could say the following. Because I lived in 3 continents, US, Europe, in the Emirates for 5 years, back to Morocco, then back to US, and then come back to US. Of course, I'm a heavy traveler for my work. What I've seen in Dhaka is very interesting. You may be a citizen of Dhaka, that you go through its challenges every day, and these challenges, they make you blind to see its opportunities, all right? So if I compare, for instance, Dhaka with any capital in African continents, absolutely Dhaka is the future, you know? In other places, they are making cities, but cities, they are dormitories, and people don't work. They are just still. And most of them sitting in coffees. The first observation that I'm really amazed with, I'm not here throwing flowers, people are hardworking. And this, for me, this is what is resilience. If you go to Tunis, for instance, the number of coffees more than the numbers of any other things. Between a coffee, there is another coffee. Why? Because they have nothing to do. Or they don't create any opportunity. Here in Ghana, you find someone with a tricycle, you have someone selling something. If he has nothing to do, he will sell samosa. You know, it's just unbelievable. And they think, for me, I'm talking about as a foreigner, because we learn from cultural shock. Even there is actually, historians said, the village, they have a bridge, they see it every day, and then it becomes obvious. And there is tourists coming, taking a photo of that bridge, and all the community saying, what's important in that bridge? Yeah, that's what's happening here in Dhaka, because you have a lot of elements that you don't see them. And foreigners like me, they can come and see. One, the human being. I think Dhaka is a human-centered place. You like it or not, crowded stuff, but I didn't see very, very few disputes in the street. Amazing, like cars. They don't clash. I don't know how they do that, but they don't clash. That shows also certain ingenuity, how we use a place that is crowded. The observation number 2, very high density. I've never seen a city dense like that. I went to Mumbai, I've seen so many cities, but crowded like here, I've never seen that. So maybe this is an opportunity. Hence, research and innovation is needed in Dhaka. Dhaka, you cannot just add roads. You have now where to add them. Even you make roads with level stories, they will not save the situation. There will be more people coming. I mean, Morocco is 33 million, and here 180 million. You know, you are here, you don't feel it, okay? We're 180. I am coming from a country of 33 million. And when I asked, the driver told me, how many million here? He said,
I thought maybe you would say 80 million, like Egypt. Egypt is 80 million. And for us, Egypt is very crowded. And you say 180 million. 180 million. Okay, Dhaka, what is Dhaka? And he started thinking, oh, maybe, sir, 20 million. And then he cut it down and became 14.5 million. But again, city of 14 million is half Morocco. You know? Please, just give us another city and we get here to deal with it. So, how you will do with this density that is also good because people, they are so disciplined. I mean, look, whatever you criticize the self, it's easy to criticize because you are in the context. I'm an observer. So if you look at African cities, there is a problem of laziness. Okay? People are lazy. Here, of course, there are some really miserable ones, but the number of active people and how they are making their living is outstanding. The observation number 3, that is so important as well, urban transformation. You may not see it. I can see Dhaka is moving fast in terms of realistic value. Very poor fabric. The city was very horizontal, and suddenly a lot of high-value real estate. That means wealth is coming from somewhere. For me, I don't see the buildings. I see that the economy is moving somewhere and something happening. And that's something to capture. To orient the city planning, to deal with this economic dynamics and how to make the city more livable. The last point, I think, it's more a warrant, an alarming thing, cityscape. I could see there is no work done on the cityscape level. What do we want? 10 levels? Want to be Dubai with 100? Decisions should be made. Because I can find 2 floors next to 10 floors. Here 3, after there is 2, and 1 there is flat. And they can see there is actually a problem of communicating between the different parts of the city and centralities. We're losing centralities in Dhaka because of the public space is so crowded, used, fully consumed, so you don't know where are the strategic areas. Of course, we need also some strategic areas for business, like CBDs, and it's a fashion, but it's important as well for investors. And so these are some. You see, this is a good question. Please, last question. Yes. And no praise. The lecture was fantastic. Okay, I'll summarize.
Sir, my question is from the first section from you, sustainable urban transformation.
Yes.
So you were talking about some discrimination, urban, rural, and then you came up with a topic like territory within the territory. You mentioned one thing about zoning. It has a zoning.
Zone, yes.
It has a negative impact in terms of designing city.
Sure.
So I'd like to know about it.
Good. I think, because this is from my work on African cities, because I've been traveling all over, and I think here you have the same issue. In Morocco, we have the same issue. We're not like in Europe, where industrialization invaded all cities and all urban. We're done. And then the countryside is a luxury in Europe. You go there to your second house. All right? Here, the rural is the raison d'être, is the reason why all you are here. 180 million, and they still have enough food. That means some people are doing their work to feed this population. So therefore, how can I come to the urban and sacralize it and make it, oh, you're the urban, and we discriminate the other who is securing food security for 180 million and say, you are rural. However, all of us, we are dreaming to get fresh air in the rural. You see, so we have actually a major problems for the citizens of the cities, they don't respect the rural, including decision makers and including planners. Planners that have been dogmatized for the last 100 years about the myth of city planning. Like there is now rural planning. Did you hear rural planning? No one talks about it. I'm developing a concept with my students, rural design. Yes, we can talk about rural design. When you say rural design and rural, no. You see, so lots of stereotypes about rurality, and hence for me, I say this dichotomy of rural and urban should stop. We should talk about human establishments in the United Nations sense, human settlements, territories. The city is devouring agricultural lands, all right? And no one is talking about the ugliness of this metropolization invading the rural. So therefore, the future is that periphery of the city with rural. How it should stop, how it should be managed, and how the rural will become a center of attraction. And actually now, lots of architects, and like Rim Koolhaas always is bringing the polemical point, but just for fancy thing, I don't want to mention that guy in public. But, you know, Sadli, famous architect, he was thinking about, you know, the urban transformation of Rim Koolhaas, yeah? There is an existing city, and we make like a mega structure to control the city again and bring another order. And suddenly, the same guy, coming 2-3 years ago, oh, the countryside is the future. See how, you see the hypocrisy of architects? It's just unbelievable. I think it's not the rural is the future. No, I think the territory of the rural, which is the future. Where are resources? In the rural. And the cities over history just making shoes and making pants, selling them to the peasants, and they get their wheats and their gold. I mean, we know how the cities actually, so therefore, just to answer your question and get straight to the point, city planning, according to the myth of the modern planning, that was based always on a top-down. There is no issue with top-down. We need that as well. But certain bottom-up should be cultivated. We need to listen to people rather than to come with zones. And by the way, honestly, I am a foreigner. I've been driving around Dhaka. I could not even see what zone is this. Could you have a sense of zone? But if you look at the master plan, oh, another story. This is villas, there is zone here, there is CBD here, but honestly, I don't see it. Dhaka for me is one thing. So you see the discrepancy between urban documents and their implementation is a problem. And if master planning, of course, thanks God now, they don't talk about master planning of 10, 20 years. They stop saying that because it's ridiculous. Because you do a master planning 5 years, the people, I want to build here now. And the guy said, no, you need to wait 10 years. All right? Because this is zone. We did not start here. It's just like you have a big biryani, it's there, and everyone watching it, don't touch it. But come on, it's dinner. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and this is, I'm sorry, I'm making analogies here, like a metaphor, just so cities are about opportunities. Rural environments are about opportunities. Like now, if you look at the sector of agriculture, it's the future. Not oil. Oil will end, agriculture will sustain. And the ones who invested in agriculture and the ones who cared about the farmers, they are the ones who will survive at the end. Because now, don't worry, renewable energies are coming. In the next 10, 20 years, you will forget about oil. All right? You agree with me because of technology. And they think this is why, how to upgrade the rural, take care of the farmer, improve the working conditions of the farmer, for not to move to the city. Listen, we are the ones who destroy the rural, and we say, oh, this rural guy just came yesterday. He's uncivilized. Come on, who made him uncivilized? So we are discriminating our own people. He's Bangladeshi. like you. He's Moroccan like me. So I am really sitting actually a whole new discourse in Morocco regarding this topic, and it has a certain impact. So we need to rethink rurality and urbanity, and we need to rethink territory, and especially the frontiers between the two. Thank you so much.
Can I have a question?
He's young or he's young? How old is he?
He graduated 2 years.
Okay.
2 years ago.
I'm just thinking about the term desakota coined by Terry McGee in 1990. And
Say it again.
the term desakota.
Say it again. Desakota.
Desakota.
Desakota. Okay.
Desakota by Terry McGee.
Okay.
So, and his book, The Emergence of Desakota in Asian Cities.
Okay. I
So
see how it is.
actually, this book is so important for me, and I actually convinced by this theory for making habitable cities in in Asian South Asian regions.
Okay.
So the city is actually very different from place to places.
Absolutely.
So what do you think? Actually, the amazing discussions of transformation of cities and its physical and climatic and other conditions, and of course political. So actually this discussion reminds me the theory. So what do you think? Desakota can be a solution for Dhaka?
To have a straight answer, it cannot be just one theory. No, because of the local accent I did not hear, because it sounds like urban agriculture. Desakota, yeah. To be honest, I think we need to be very careful, because now architects, I think, when we start theorizing, we go to philosophers, sociologists, and we borrow terms. And sometimes they may be deadly, because the context has its own parameters, and each context has its own parameters. So you cannot just use one recipe to solve the whole problem. I think Dhaka, to be honest, I think there is no magic stick that will solve its issues within the next 10 years. I think it should be really some macro decisions. Forget about bricolage. You know the term bricolage? I mean, you cannot just reforms with essays. Said it before. Dhaka is about making some critical, decisions about organizing first the spatial realm of the city, and more control on land use. I could see here clearly there is no control in a positive way for land use. So all other concepts, we cannot apply them if we don't actually master 4 elements. Businesses and how they are mushrooming everywhere. Number 2, the real estate and the speculation. And it's not just Dhaka. If you go to Morocco, you go any other cities, I think speculation is becoming, the market of land is controlling, is making the rule. Number 3, I think also you are having wealth, and the vehicle where this wealth will grow is not enough. It's just like Dhaka, like a dress that is becoming tight, and you need to buy new dress. And I think in some areas there needs to be some radical decisions. And number 4, it's tough, but it should be done. Dedensification. In French we say dédensification. That means when you have a population density of 1,300 people per hectare. Sorry, this is abnormal. This is not human. Forget, you want me to praise this? No. I think how to work on the carrying capacity of different corners of the city, even by projecting new cities. I'll give you one wise decision by our king in Morocco. I think it was very wise. Casablanca, it's only 4 million people. And we named that city the monster. So what would be Dhaka with 14 million? I mean, in Egypt, you have 80 million, and they have one city, which is Cairo, that has 20 million or something. There is something wrong. Hence, there is need for territorial planning. Territorial planning, creating other new cities, but not as tentacles, like dormitory towns, and also these buses going to these new towns, and they have nothing there. Come to Dhaka, work, and go to them. No. You need to have holistic programs of new cities for work, for entertainment, for education, and I will end by this sentence. I think the future is knowledge. If there is no education, cities, they will be always in a mess, because the more the standard of education is high, the more the public or the city form and the city space will be explored in a different way. So there is a link between poverty, lack of education, city planning, and policy making, and all that. It's not to blame just the city. A lot of things should be done in different corners for the city to be, the issues of the city to be resolved. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Hassan Radoine. We are now going to take just 2 minutes break. You can get some tea and water. Then we'll get back to our next segment of this program. It's a bit of informal closing program of this session.